Simonova. I'm your host today, dear colleagues. Finally, we have all our guests today. So today is our third day of English Coaching Week, as I told before. And first of all, please, as usually, let's check our internet connection. If you hear and see me well, please put a plus in our chat box. I see. Yes. I see. Everything is okay. Okay. Thank you, colleagues. So today we have a really interesting day. It's day of supervision and advanced professional development, as you see in our slide. We will learn to see what's really happening in coaching with the demo session. So today we have two wonderful guests. It's Сэм Мэгил. Сэм is a master certified coach by the ICF from USA, and he's a senior practitioner in North America. He has been coaching since 1990. And he's been teaching coaching since 2002. And Сэм is said to create a depth of awareness and discovery in a very safe environment. And it's our first guest. And the second one is Irinai Джадж. She is Associate Certified Coach by the ACF from UK. And Irina, trainer of programs at a global coaching university, and she has finished the program in UK, the course of coaching supervision at Academy of Supervision in Coaching, UK, London. Yeah, Irinai Джадж, Irina, Сэм, everything is right. Okay, nice to see you. So now I think that I will say everything, and the floor is yours, please. We are waiting for you.
Very good. Irina, did you want to say anything, or shall I just go ahead?
I would like to tell I'm happy to see you, to see everybody, and explain why I was worried, because Сэм is absolutely different time zone, and it is a new day for you, yeah?
Yes, just very, very early in the
day. Very early. Yeah, thank you for your wishes to be with us, and I would like to add, Сэм is my supervisor. So, a lot of titles for him, and one more, he's my supervisor. Yeah, and I think I'm happy to be a supervisee for today, and like Evgenia said, the space is yours.
Thank you very much. And good afternoon to all of you. I think it's just afternoon for you, and it's just 1 a.m. for me. So I apologize for being late for a moment. I want to share the screen, if that's okay. I'm going to put a screen up here. I won't be able to see all of you so much, but it's what a treat to be invited. I want to say that if I speak in a way that's not clear to you, Irina, if you would jump in and just get a hold of me and say, you know, could you explain that in a different way or something, because it's very important to be understood. It really is an honor to be with you. And so let me just share this. I think that should work. Right. Now, you should be able to see a slide now. Irina, do you see that?
Yes, but it's a little bit small. Need to spread. Yeah, if Evgenia or Dmitry can help, please, if you can do it. Or
let's see. Let me change this.
What helps? Or what help do you need?
How's that?
I think it's okay. Good.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, it's good.
Good.
And colleagues, you have 80 minutes for presentation and for demo session.
80 minutes, 1.5 hours almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And after we will, our participants will ask the questions.
Okay. Oh, so 80 minutes for presentation and then questions?
80 minutes for presentation and demo session and 10 minutes for questions.
Okay,
yeah.
Very good. I will actually want to invite people to do some things during these minutes, during the presentation, to help have a sense of what supervision is. So I'm going to share some photographs with you. They're all my photographs. That's one of my hobbies, is photography and also poetry. And I like to think that these are useful to explain coaching supervision, because in fact, it's a little bit hard to explain what it is. Some people have said, isn't supervision just coaching the coach? And I don't believe that's true. I think that supervision uses some skills that are common to or are the same as coaching. For example, if we look at the International Coach Federation competencies, we find asking questions, having a coaching agreement, direct communication, listening, and all of these competencies for coaching are also very important in supervision. But what we're about in supervision is not coaching. And it is like tuning an instrument so that great coaching can occur. And I'd like to use a few examples to help explain that. All right, so in an introduction to supervision, it's valuable to think about what is going on in coaching. What is going on in coaching? We can look at the surface of things happening in our coaching and get one perspective. But if you look at this photograph, you will see that there are very many different layers in this particular image. And I wonder if anyone could call out and say what some of the things are that you see in this image. And this will be a metaphor for supervision. What are some of the things that you see in this? I think you'll have to take the mute off yourselves. I don't think I can do that. Let's see.
Stones, water, our participants said trees in the water.
Trees in the water. What else?
Endless sea.
Also the sky and the reflection.
Yeah, I see water also.
Right.
Sand, tree, sky.
Also different colors, like sets and layers of different colors and textures.
Exactly. Okay, you're getting the hang of it. You're also seeing the stones. We're looking at the bottom of a river here. So which one of these is the true statement about what's happening? Well, the point is that all of these things are happening. Just as there are many things that are happening in coaching supervision. So what is coaching supervision? What is it exactly? I want to make sure you're seeing this the way I intended, and my screen is being a little bit strange. Hold on one second. In the image that you're seeing, are you seeing a person standing or just the waterfall?
Yes, yes. What's yes?
Sorry, can you see a person standing here?
Yes, yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, we can see. It's absolutely clear.
Oh, good.
Good.
Okay. So that's actually my wife at a waterfall here near Seattle in the northwest of the US. So what is coaching supervision? What is it? And I wonder for all of you on the call, in your first guess, what do you think supervision is? Let's talk about that. I know people are putting some things in the chat, but maybe you can.
Colleagues, write your questions and everything in our chat, and I will read. Or use microphone.
Well, hello, my name is Olga, and I wonder if I can reply, since I know what coaching supervision is, and I was a client of a coaching supervision. Can I still share?
Of course.
Mm-hmm. So to me, the difference between coaching supervision and mentoring is that mentor deals with coaching competences, while supervisor deals with internal obstacles and confusions and some misconceptions or difficulties that a coach has while working with the client. This is not it's not about professional skills or competences, but more about myself, the feelings, the limiting beliefs that I have. And supervision is, it's interesting that you're using the metaphor of a walk in the park, because it's not clear to me why, but supervision is a process when a supervisor helps coach overcome internal obstacles and limiting beliefs to improve coaching practice and to breathe out and to improve coaching, to help the coach feel better about oneself. And this is how I understand it.
That's a wonderful description, Olga. Thank you very much. Yeah, I do like to say that supervision is like a walk in the garden. Now, what does that mean? If you go walking in a beautiful garden with someone, you never know what's going to be going on there, but you're curious. You take a walk along, you see something growing in the garden, something blooming, some flowers that were not there the previous time. And you become very curious and you say, oh, what's going on over there? If I walk in this direction, I can see a tree in bloom. If I walk in this other direction, I see reflection of the sky. If I walk in this other direction, I can see a person in the far distance. So the key thing, one of the key things for coaching supervision is that we be very curious. We ask the simple question, what is happening here? And there are many dimensions, as you've seen from the previous photograph and this one of the garden. This particular garden is in France, in Giverny, where Monet, the great artist, painted. One of his most famous paintings is the water lilies, and these are those same lilies that he painted. Well, maybe not exactly the same one, since he painted a long time ago, but it's the same water and the same location. So one of the interesting things that we do is walking unknown pathways. Yesterday, when I was talking to a supervisee, we began to talk about things that were happening with a particular one of her clients. And we started identifying that the place that that individual was a coach was a very, very controlled environment. They deal with a lot of things that have a lot of confidentiality in them. And so we said, well, let's talk about confidentiality. How could that environment, that atmosphere, be affecting the coaching that's going on here? And it meant that people keep things very close to themselves, don't talk very much. And that meant that when a client came for coaching, they were silent. And they didn't want to bring anything to the coaching because they don't talk very much. So what an unusual thing. How do I deal with that as the coach? And this was supervision. Another way to think about supervision is that it is a time out to think about our work. To think about our work. I don't know about all of you on this call, but an awful lot of the coaches I know work very, very hard. And partly they're trying to run their own businesses. And so they go very fast. And they don't take time to stop and think about what they're doing. In fact, some coaches I know actually get lost in their work. And here's an example of that, an example. I was supervising a master certified coach, a woman who has taught coaching for many, many years. And we were talking about an executive client that she was working with. And she said, this guy just doesn't complete his assignments. It's really getting him in trouble. He makes promises and doesn't complete them. My gosh, what do I do? And I listened to this person for a while. And I said, well, how are you and this client perhaps similar? And she stopped. And she said, oh my gosh, I'm exactly like this client. I never stop to make sure that I'm doing a good job. I go from meeting to meeting to meeting. How can you possibly coach someone when the issue that the client is working on is the same kind of thing you are struggling with? It just doesn't work. We have to be able to distinguish ourselves from our coaching clients instead of getting swept up into exactly the same thing. I wonder if any of you have any thoughts or reactions to what I'm saying.
Colleagues?
Does it mean that the problem that coach experience with the client reflects, pretty much often reflects what's happening inside the coach's life?
Yes, very much so.
And how often do you encounter this in your practice?
Oh, how often do I encounter the same thing happening in the coach as happening in the client?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me think. Well, I think I could easily say 100% of the time.
Really?
I don't think that's quite accurate. I don't think it's quite accurate. But here's another story. So this is a complicated story. And my supervisee is a woman from South Africa, a white woman from South Africa. And she lived and worked in Nigeria. And she, after some time in our supervision sessions, she said, I'm not making any progress, and my clients are not making any progress, and I don't understand it. And we talked some more, and she said, oh, maybe 1 month later, she came back and she said, when I was growing up in South Africa, my family and I were so opposed to apartheid that I learned to never say anything offensive to a Black South African, to never say anything offensive. And this was part of who she was. And here she was working in Nigeria. And this commitment of hers from her childhood and becoming a responsible adult was preventing her from challenging her clients at all. It was completely unconscious. But once she discovered what was happening inside of herself, she stood up in a meeting with her clients, a group of people, leaders in a company. And she said, you know what? I am afraid to stand here and say what I really think is happening. And of course, she was terrified. But she stood up, a man stood up and said, I also am afraid to talk about what's really happening here. And the system changed. So is it 100% of the time? Probably not. But that there is something happening in the coach that is somehow preventing progress in the coaching, there's a high likelihood that there's something similar between the two. Yeah. Other comments about this or questions about this point?
I think we can continue. Everybody keep breathe.
Okay.
Great example. Thank you.
You're welcome. One of the things that I love about supervision is that I get to work in a very, very special place with my supervisees. I am so fortunate that my supervisees trust me to talk about very personal things. I'm not doing psychotherapy. In that example, I didn't ask anything about my supervisee's family or any of the things that were going on in her childhood. In the previous example with the woman who was just rushing around all the time, I didn't ask how she came to be that way. It didn't matter. The point is that here and now, who she was in that moment was affecting her coaching. That's what we deal with. And it's a very, I like to say, supervision creates a sacred space. And I know that might sound kind of strange. Isn't it about work? Yes, it is very much about work. But it's also a very, very special place. You can see also another way to talk about supervision is that it is a way to find hidden doorways to mastery. Hidden doorways to mastery. We walk through doors that we have forgotten about, that we never opened before. Yesterday, talking with a supervisee, she became aware that she is such a compassionate person, that she was so inclined to take care of people. She's a beautiful, kind woman. And she's so, just her nature is to care for people, that when working with her clients, she protected them. She wanted to serve them a nice meal instead of doing coaching. And a lot can happen if that's our perspective as a coach. There are all kinds of theories that we could look into that explain what's going on. But to be brief, what was happening is that some clients were coming to her simply to be cared for, to be soothed, because they knew she was so compassionate. And that meant that the real coaching never happened. But she saw it, now she can deal with it. I like to say that in coaching, of course, we're trying to accomplish something. We're trying to go someplace. Whereas in supervision, we're trying to open the door and turn on the lights so we can see what's happening. Let me check in with you again now and see what kinds of thoughts are coming to mind for you.
Sam, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I heard this kind of saying that a coach should fix internal issues, maybe with psychotherapist or another coach or supervisee before a coach can become a great master. So you have to sort out whatever is eating you up or whatever is preventing you from actually giving proper coaching before you can move on to new professional stages. How do you agree with this?
Yes, and here's an example. I worked for a very large company 22 years ago, and I was an internal coach. Well, like any big company, any place in the world, there was a lot of conflict. It's a very, very difficult environment. And I was challenged in some ways by my own boss. And eventually all these pressures built up on me, and I became less and less effective as a coach. And I talked to a psychotherapist friend of mine, and that friend said, "Oh, you internal coaches in this company, which is very well known where I live, you internal coaches need external supervision." I said, "What in the world is that?" And this friend said, "It's someone who helps you see what's going on in yourself, quite apart from your skill as a coach, and to disentangle yourself, It's like if you have a bowl of spaghetti and everything is all tied together in a big mass like that. It's not very good spaghetti. So we have to separate it out. And so, yes, I had to sort out what was happening to me, why I was reacting to things the way I was reacting, before I could be an effective coach. Now, if, as a human being, I keep getting stuck at the same place, if I'm constantly feeling depressed in my work, and a supervisor can't help me get out of that depression or anger or anything like that, and the anger or sadness is taking over, then I need to see a psychotherapist because there's something else going on. But that's rarely the case. It's more like there's something unconscious happening. And if I can just step back, walk around in the garden, I'll be able to see it and do something about it. Here's a different kind of example, a different doorway, if you will. I was working with a coach, a man who's 60 years old at the time, a lot of experience in human resources, very, very good coach, good human being. I just smile remembering this guy. And he came to one of our sessions and he said, I don't understand what's happened with this particular client. Things were going so well, and all of a sudden they're not. And I listened to him and I knew a little bit about the client. And I finally said, well, if you described yourself as some kind of a role, like in a theater or on the stage, if you described yourself as some kind of a role, what are you relative to this client? And he instantly said, oh my God, I'm her father. I'm her father. Wow. Well, how old are your children? He said, my daughter is the same age as this client, 35 years old, a chief financial officer. So something in the dynamic of this really good man flipped him unconsciously into becoming his client's parent. And once that happened, the coaching really stopped, right? Who knows what her reaction would be to this overprotective father. In fact, she retreated. But as soon as he became aware that he had slipped into this, gee, you know, what a good guy to be so protective of his daughter. As soon as he saw it, his eyes were open, and he said, oh, I've got to interact with her as an adult, just another adult. Yes, she happens to be 35 and she happens to be the same age as my daughter, but she isn't my daughter. And I don't have to go into the protective daddy. Any thoughts about that before I go to some more theoretical material? One of my challenges working with Zoom is that I can't see you while the slides are on the screen, so I don't get to watch your faces.
Oh, thank you for your answer. You pretty much covered it all and gave great examples. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anyone else?
And Sam, we have one comment in our chat box. I will read, if you don't mind. From Theodora Kamenova. In my opinion, supervision is about seeing the elephant in the room, our blind spots. Our strengths become our weakness and end up in our invisible area. So a supervisor brings light to this dark areas of ours. I do believe we are doomed to succeed as long as we stop sabotaging ourselves with our personal limiting beliefs or habits subconsciously.
Yeah.
Thank you, Theodora.
Well, You know,
and we have a question from Inga. What such a client have to do? Go to the therapist?
Could you give me a little more information about the question?
Inga? I have just this question now. Chat box. Inga, can you clarify? Role of father. She means role of father. In your case, what you...
Oh, once he's in the role of father, does he need to go to a psychotherapist? Is that the question?
Inga?
I'm afraid to make a lot of mistakes. I mean, this client realized that he used the role of father, not use. I mean, he realized that he feel himself like a father, unconsciously maybe, and what he have to do, is it enough that he realize it, or he have to go to the therapist to do with it, just to that another clients didn't make this story again?
The same thing happened again. Great question, Inga. Yeah, no, he didn't. There's a whole theory area that we certainly don't have time to go into today called transactional analysis. In transactional analysis, it is said that all human beings can easily go to different ego states. I have no idea how that would be said in Russian. In French, say again?
Sorry, in Russian it's transactный анализ.
Okay, okay. In French, it's état de moi. It's state of me, which I really like better than the English ego state sounds, you know. But state of me, who am I in this moment? Well, in the theory of transactional analysis, it's pointed out that we were all children at one point. And so we retain in our habits of thinking some childlike ways. We all had important adults in our lives, whether it was our direct parent, biological parent, or somebody else. And those parents had flaws. Sometimes they were overly nourishing. They were too protective, constantly protecting us from encountering the world. Other parents are very critical, all the time pointing out what's wrong in us. And so as we grow, we pick up these different ways of being. And as adults, when different things happen subconsciously, we can flip for just a moment. In this case, I'll call this man Bob. That was not his name. In that moment, something unconsciously tapped into the lovely man that he was as a protective father. As soon, because he's psychologically competent, because he is already psychologically competent, as soon as he saw that he had slipped into that old habit, he could get out of it. If a supervisee can't see that and constantly goes to being so protective that he can't do coaching because he's always taking care of his client, then he needs psychotherapy. And I would refer him to psychotherapy. But most of the time, that's not the case. Like he said, oh my God, I'm her father. And then I might say, well, what do you need to do about it? He would say, you know what? She is a competent adult, my client. She is so good at being a chief financial officer. I don't have to be her father. Okay, Well, what's the coaching that needs to go on? Well, she had some very harsh feedback from the chief executive officer, and she was hurt. Oh, maybe that's what triggered you to be a father, because she was so hurt. She was, you know, very disturbed by this harsh feedback. Oh, okay. Well, what's the next thing you do now to work with her as two competent adults? He said, well, I know exactly what to do. Okay, fine, go do it. So no, just because in a moment we become one of those different states of me, it doesn't mean that we need psychotherapy. It simply means that we're human. And an awful lot of supervision deals with the fact that we are simply humans in training. That's all we are. When we get really down to the basics, we're trying our best to be good human beings. Okay, let me go to this next slide. So you see the seven-eyed model here. The seven-eyed model of coaching supervision was developed by several people in the UK, in England. Yeah, Peter Hawkins, Robin Shoet, and Michael Smith, I think is the third one. I know Hawkins and Shoet much better. They say, well, let's talk about all the different layers of things happening in coaching and in coaching supervision. So if you look here at the one that's on the right that says I number 1, this is the coaching client, okay? In the case that I just shared, the client is a 35-year-old woman, a chief financial officer. Her context is that she had been doing pretty well. She is new to being a chief financial officer. And she just had an evaluation by her boss, and the boss said some things that hurt her. She felt hurt. Okay? That's the client and the client's context. Then we have I number 2, between two people. These are the coaching methodologies. This is where we might say that the ICF coaching competencies occur in this space of I number 2. How do I go about my coaching? One of the interesting connections in supervision is that the coach might get in the habit of asking particular questions and just routinely, automatically asks these questions. And so they get, you know, like a car driving in the mud. They get stuck in a particular pathway. That's not very good coaching, but it happens. It happens. We all like to know what we're doing, and sometimes we get in, as we say in English, a rut. Does that word translate?
Could you say it again, please?
It's a rut, R-U-T. It's where something gets a pathway in the dirt. And we keep getting our car stuck in that same pathway. It's a rut.
Yeah, it's выбоина, как колдобина на дороге, рытвина или вот, ну, колдобина, пожалуй, самый точный перевод. Yeah, we found it.
Good, good. Thank you so much for helping me. Okay, so that happens. We get in ruts as a coach. That's I number 2. Or, and this one, I'm going to say this and then I want to come back to it later. Sometimes we don't ask powerful questions, right? Coaching has a lot to do with powerful questions. But if I as the coach, avoid asking a particular question. That's I number 2. And it's more complicated than that. I've changed my coaching methodology by not asking a particular question. And let's make sure that's clear, because it's a really important factor in supervision. I wonder if any translation is needed for that, or if it's clear.
Clear, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so let's go now to I number 3, the relationship between the coach and the client. The relationship. What's happening between the client and the coach? Is it a warm relationship? Is it a cold relationship? Is it too friendly? Is it too distant? Do I like my client, my coaching client? Is it someone I enjoy being around or not? All kinds of things can happen there. Then there's the coach. So I shared the example of the woman from South Africa. In I number 4, she began to discover herself in her coaching. She might say, gosh, what's going on with me? I'm a good coach, but my client, I number 1, isn't making any progress. I wonder what's going on with me. Now that's rich material. Then I'm going to go to I number 6 and come back to I number 5. All the time I'm a supervisor, I'm paying attention to myself as well as the supervisee, the coach. And I'm saying, gee, I wonder what's going on with me. I'm suddenly having this thought. And like in the example with Bob, all of a sudden I thought to myself, boy, Bob sure sounds like I do when I'm being a father. And so I asked him about that. So the supervisor is always reflecting what's happening in me, what my thoughts, images, pictures that are coming to mind. And then we can go back to I number 5. This is if I reflect on what's happening in me, I begin to pick up these parallel things. And that's where my questions come from oftentimes, like with that early example of really my colleague, the MCC, who was rushing around like crazy. I started to say, gosh, you know, I'm feeling really busy here. I'm confused. Wait a minute. I know something about this woman. She's frenetic. She goes too fast all the time, and she's often exhausted and complains about it. So those were my reflections in I number 6. So I said, hey, what's going on with you? Oh, I'm just like my client. Boom, parallel process. And then number 7, I number 7 is the context or the system all around the coaching. Like, I think maybe my first example, the supervisee yesterday, who said, I work in an environment where there's so much confidential information that nobody talks to each other authentically and openly. That's the systemic context that was affecting the coaching, right? 7-eyed model. I want to see what questions there are, and then Irina, I'm going to turn this screen share off and start talking with you. But let's see what questions there are first.
Sam?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Irina, did you want to ask the question?
I'm here. I'm here. Yes, yes, Sam. Sorry.
Okay. Are there questions from
Sam,
all the
I have a question.
Great.
I assume that there can be the cases when the coach doesn't understand that he needs the supervision.
Mm-hmm.
What do we as coaches need to pay attention to in the first place in order not to miss this necessity to find ourselves a supervisor?
Well, one of the questions in supervision is, how often should I go to a supervisor?
Mm-hmm.
And various people recommend different things. Some people say 1 hour of supervision for every 10 hours of coaching. Some people say once a month for a very active coach. When I do group supervision, I meet one time per month with a group of 5 or 6 coaches. So it's once per month. And the point is that one can say we always need supervision. Regular supervision is a good idea in my mind, because so many of the things and the examples that I've just shared are unconscious. I'm not aware of them. But I know that unconscious things are happening. I know that because I'm a human being. So I just, like, if I was a guitar, I used to play classical guitar when I was young. I had to tune it every time I picked it up. The weather changed. It was damp. It was hot. It was cold. It was this. And so I tuned my guitar every time I picked it up. Ding, 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 ding. And had it working correctly. So when did I need supervision? All the time. It's not just when I have a problem, right? Because I am committed to serving my coaching clients as well as I possibly can. And for me, it's really a question of being ethical. Am I blind right now? Someone mentioned blind spots. Is the mirror on my car out of adjustment so I'm not seeing what's coming at me from the side? Are my glasses dirty, which they are at this particular moment? This is why I go to supervision. It's a question of ethics for me. I have to keep my glasses clean to do good coaching.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I don't want to interrupt. I have a goosebumps during all your presentation, but unfortunately we have time just till 1:30 p.m. So I think that you have 2 minutes for presentation or something like that, and after demo session, yeah. How much time do you need for demo session?
Well, I think that, Irina, I think we can do some good work in 15 minutes.
Okay. 15 minutes, okay.
Okay, about that?
So you have 10 minutes then. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see what we can do, Irina.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Should we start?
Let's start. What sort of thing do you want to explore right now, Irina?
Oh, thank you very much. And I'm coming to be more calm and come back. I came back in my thoughts, in my mind, and my question for myself. I noted a very interesting situation last maybe several, maybe 10 days. It's very interesting. I noted I miss the information that my emotions give me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to understand why and what is happening in that moment
Mm-hmm.
with me. I will explain more. First time when I realized it, I met it in group supervision. I'm one of 3 participants. It is going in English. It's matter, maybe not matter. And we worked on the 3rd of 6 supervision. My colleague shared her awareness and mentioned that she now is reading the book, very interesting book, and she recommends us to read it and then discuss about it. And I felt immediately like my body give me something, my back pulled down, and in my mind I caught just, oh, okay. And I started to write down the name of book. Mm-hmm. And sessions going on. In the end of session, the supervisor came back to this moment and asked my colleague. She asked, why does you want us to read the book? And I caught my thought. Yes, it was my question. And I didn't ask. I missed. And in some days, I had the similar situation in my group supervision where I was a supervisor. After my colleague remember the or return the question which connected with my thoughts, I realized, yes, I felt it.
So you didn't ask a particular question.
I didn't ask. I didn't quote the question. Just something, but it's like, I stopped and wait, please. It's not important. I'm here to be to bring contribution, and probably it's not important. It's yeah.
So in a general sense, Irina, you noticed that this stopping yourself has happened in other situations, yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, what's your guess about, let's be specific, when you were in the coaching supervision, in the group supervision?
Yeah.
What's your guess about why you didn't ask?
I tried to think about it, and my thought was what it isn't. It isn't fierce to be wrong. All right, it isn't, and looks like I'm trying to be useful. And I'm thinking, this is good information, valuable to bring here in the useful area place is called supervision or not. I'm scaling. It is good or not. It's useful or not.
So in a sense, you're evaluating yourself.
Yeah, I'm evaluating. Yeah. It's interesting, yeah.
So what's the effect of that self-evaluation when you're acting as a coach?
What's the effect? What's effect? Sorry. What's affect me to evaluate? My responsibility before group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My high responsibility.
And what's the worst thing that could happen? if you asked the question?
My ego.
Oh. Oh.
My ego, probably, yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's not about I hurt myself. No, it's about, yeah. Maybe I don't want to be quoted.
Mm-hmm.
Who you are?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you here?
Uh-huh.
Probably yes.
You don't want to be. Say more about that. I didn't quite understand.
Yeah. Maybe it's not afraid, but I don't want to be like a thief. To be catch people by my colleagues and look me in different phase, not professional. Maybe why you here? You ask very strange questions, and
okay,
why
good.
you look different face. Who you are? You are part of group, and you ask very strange question. It's useful things which we suggest to you.
And here I thought you were this professional, intelligent, capable person, Irina, and you asked these strange questions.
Very strange question, which may be not useful for us. And I'm sorry, you're not a person who give contribution in our place. Yeah.
Who are you to make that kind of contribution?
Yeah, it is like, yeah, you know, I'm seeing picture now, like a person who climbing on the mountain and immediately jumping now, jumping down. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's so interesting when I think about myself right now, Irina.
Uh-huh.
And I'm really feeling amused. I'm I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because it's so much like me, you know?
Uh-huh.
So, well, who are you? Who are you in a group?
You caught my thoughts when I came here. Before I came here, I caught my thoughts the same.
You mean right now?
Yeah, right now. Yeah. Why I'm here? Ooh, who am I?
Yeah, right.
52 people here. More professional than me. Why I'm here? I love this subject, but why I'm here?
No kidding. And yeah, me too. Me too. It's the middle of the night. I'm not dressed professionally. I'm embarrassed, you know. Yeah. I can barely speak English, much less Russian. And so who am I to be with these professional, beautiful people?
But still, this is a challenge. It's different between try to be pretend to be and to do and have challenge. And my challenge for me to be a participant of group supervision in English, it is a great challenge for me.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
So I just understood now and realize it. Mm-hmm. It's not about ego.
It's just, in fact, it's a challenge to speak language.
To speak language, and it's a challenge to appear by yourself in group supervision or in a session with the client, individual supervision, individual coaching. It is about appearance.
It is about appearance.
Appearance, yeah.
That's right. Because you have high standards for the quality of your work, and you work so hard to be an accomplished professional person, and you're working in a context in which you might not appear that way.
Yeah. It is interesting. It's a different angle. I didn't think about it, and I didn't look from this angle.
Mm-hmm.
Something happening in me now. It is like I'm growing up right now, and I'm turning from child in a shop with a toy shop to adult who understands, maybe not understands, who just being. It's about holistic, and I feel more not. I feel like I'm not calm, but a more here and now. You know, yeah. It can be. I can worry. I can worry. I can be calm. I can be curious. I can be stupid. I can stop. I can stick. But I am who I am.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
So we might ask ourselves, Irina, can I allow myself to be an adult?
Yeah, it's useful. It's a useful question, and I think this question keeps many meanings and doors.
Many doors.
To grow up, to move ahead.
Yeah. What does it mean to grow up?
It's a very good question. It is about allow to open myself and to bring myself in the world. It's a very good question. Probably it is essential because I use, maybe you noted, I use a lot of time to grow up. And what does it mean for me? Yeah.
So with this discovery and this allowing yourself to truly be an adult, at least most of the time, how does that affect your coaching?
Adult makes partnership and open to other person and allow myself and to be myself and allow and to show up in a session and allow the other person to be themselves and shows up in our session as well. It is about partnership.
And you're allowed to ask the questions that come to mind.
Absolutely. It is different. Now it's different. It is not my contribution. Like, I must do it. It is partnership. I'm a part of process.
Right.
I'm a part of process. And to shift between what I thought, where I stuck, and who I am, to what is the area, what is the place where we are together, and why important to bring me this place. It's very important.
And we can say
it's different.
Yeah, who you are, who you allow yourself to be, is how you coach.
Yeah.
How you supervise.
Yeah. Yeah, it's clear for me, this situation, and I see my patterns now in my mind. I see what I can and how can I use this awareness for my coaching practice. Yeah.
Right. Well, would that be an okay place to
yeah
start?
Yeah I feel like I need time to to breathe and to think.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Let's just take a moment, Irina, to be together, and just to take a couple of breaths together, and just kind of let this moment go. Some breaths. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Irina.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. We're set now. I think we're going to have some questions. Is that right?
Yes, Sam, you finished, yeah?
Yes, we are.
I didn't want to interrupt so deep process. Thank you very much for your deep work, and thank you, Irina, for your braveness. And colleagues, if you have questions, please ask Sam or Irina. Now it's time for questions. I see comments in our chat box from Inga. It was great. Thank you so much.
May I request that the questions be to me about the process and not questions to Irina?
Okay.
There are some questions I can ask her, but I'd prefer to let her just be
okay.
quiet. Mm-hmm.
So colleagues, ask your questions to Sam about the process, if you have questions.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing with us your mastering. And my question, just wondering, in this demonstration, is it different between coaching process and supervision process?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
So in the particular case that we had, there was not a specific client involved. And this is one of the big distinctions between coaching and supervision. I asked some questions to Irina about how this applied to her coaching and about how it would affect her work with her client, because we were working in a supervisory framework. If she had brought a specific client, like my old client, Bob, it would have been much clearer as supervision. Still, we weren't developing a strategy for some coaching objective. We were answering a question about how Irina was functioning in a group supervision. It applied greatly to how she functions as a coach, but indeed, there can be a lot of overlap. And supervision and coaching get more distinct when we're talking about a specific engagement with a specific client.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Colleagues, do you have any questions? More? Okay, I see comment in our chat box from Natalia Lyubimova. It seems to me that was like a coach session, not supervision.
Yeah, and I think again the reason that it could sound that way is because we were working with a pattern in the supervisee's work, and sometimes in supervision we're dealing with an overall pattern of work rather than a specific client, and so in that case it sounds more like coaching. When I work with supervision groups, we spend most of our time talking about a specific coaching case. And then other times we step back and we begin to notice patterns across our coaching. And so it's not as distinct in that case, but it's very powerful. Supervision is in service of our client, our coaching clients. We tune ourselves, we tune the guitar in service of our clients. And it's very important to keep that in mind as we go to supervision over and again. The reason we do it is to serve our clients better. And when we keep that in mind, it's easier to see the distinctions between supervision and coaching per se.
Thank you very much for your answers, and dear participants, thank you very much for your participation. And now, unfortunately, we must finish our meeting today. Really, unfortunately, because it was really a great presentation and demo session. Thank you very much, Sam. I really appreciate your contribution in our English Coaching Week. And grateful to you and to Irina again for your braveness, and that you're so inspiring. And even I see comment in our chat box. Irina is very pleasant and likable. During our demo session, one of our participants has written.
Oh, thank you, dear colleagues, because it was really great to share your experience, Sam, and I appreciate your work a lot. So thank you a lot, and Irina also, thank you for your openness and this atmosphere of openness and very touching song which you share with us. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Svetlana. Okay, so about our program tomorrow, we need to remind you what program do we have. We will have in our meeting tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have a mentoring session with the Master Certified Coach by the ICF, Esther Landa, from USA and Russia. And Esther will give feedback also as a mentor, and she will analyze the 11 core ICF competencies. Sorry. So we will wait for you, dear participants, tomorrow at the same time and with the same link. And again, thank you very much, Samuel and Irina, for our meeting today.
Pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Have a nice day. Irina?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, my colleague, to be interested of this type of supporting for coaches. And I will share my feelings now. I feel like I'm not exactly brought the good case for to understand supervision. What's different between supervision and coaching, but still I think you can see the patterns which we have in one place can affect or influences for our practice. It's what happened with me, and thanks Sam very much to demonstrate how to can understand it, to discover. And thank you very much. Thank you. And good night, Sam.
Bye-bye. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, colleagues. And bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.